Thursday, May 18th, and this is Geeknights. Tonight we conclude Worst Week with a rundown of the worst people ever in the history of people.
Let's do this.
Now, as everyone who frequents the forums is aware, I started conducting an experiment as of this morning, where randomly I decided I was going to drive exactly the posted speed limit no matter what road I was on, no matter where I was for a week.
Use cruise control?
Yes, when I can. Cruise control doesn't work so well under about 40.
Oh, in my car, it's like an exact thing.
Yeah, well, most cars
I don't use it ever.
The way cruise control works in most cars, it doesn't work so well, especially at low speeds or when there's traffic around, because you got to slow down and stop based on what's going on. But on the freeway, I just put it at 55 and it went. And especially after my commute home today, I have somewhat revised my views regarding speed limits and speeding laws. Now, before, everyone knows that I'd speed a lot, and I think many of the speed limits out there are silly. And I tended to think that people who drove the speed limit were just driving too slow and whatever. My opinion is completely different now. It is not only silly to have these laws, it is dangerous to actually follow them. I almost got run off the road because I was going 55 on the freeway.
So how did they run you off the road?
People would coming up behind me, they'd get right on my ass, and then they'd swerve around me because there's traffic in the left lane too, as fast as they could. I almost got clipped by someone. People were passing me in the shoulder at one point, and I made this huge clusterfuck of traffic all as far as I could see behind me as people were fighting with each other to try to get around me.
Yeah, it's what happens on these two-lane roads. You see on 84, on my way to work, traffic will just be going nicely, and then some truck will get behind a slower truck, both going well above the 55-mile-an-hour speed limit. So the faster truck will pass the other truck on the left. Then 1 million cars, including me, will line up behind the truck in the left lane. And then when the truck finally gets in the right lane, all the cars will finally get going and spread out again.
But me, one little car going 55 in the right lane, not even doing anything sitting in the left lane. I was following the letter of the law, and I was only screwing up traffic and endangering myself and others.
Yep.
This isn't cool.
Nope.
I'm going to try to do this all week and see if the trend continues. But I think the end result is going to be that it is actually dangerous to follow the speed limit on most freeways.
Yep. We knew that already.
Well, eventually we're going to do a Thursday show on speeding.
Yep.
And speed laws and all that.
I went real fast home today.
Yeah.
Real fast. Oh, okay. So, long time ago, I don't know, months ago, search on frontrowcrew.com for, the story, and you'll find we talked about it when it was just a rumor, but finally today, it's true. Seagate, the company that makes the hard drives that I buy, is buying Maxtor.
The company that makes the hard drives I buy.
There you go. So now me and Rim both buy hard drives from the same company. What does this mean? It means there's going to be less competition for hard drives.
Which isn't that big of a deal right now because hard drive prices have pretty much bottomed out.
Yep. It means that Maxtor's drives are a little less reliable than Seagate's, some people say.
Yeah, some people. A lot of people say the other way, too. There's really no data.
Yeah. Someone really should do a thing. We know that Western Digital's crap.
Used to be. They're a lot better than they were a long time ago.
Yeah. But anyway, it means that there'll probably be a lot more products available with the Seagate label on them. Means that Seagate will be an even bigger, more powerful, dangerous computer company, probably as big as the likes of Intel and AMD and all those.
Actually, I see a lot of good coming out of this because Seagate had a lot of proprietary patented technology in their hard drives.
A whole lot.
Maxtor had an equal body of proprietary technology in their hard drives. Now, this conglomerate company, Seagate, with all of that under them, can use the IP from both to make better drives.
Yeah, and then they'll buy Western Digital, and then that'll be it, the end.
Well, no, then the antitrust hammer will come out like it always does.
Too bad it's a international company. What can you really do?
They can do things.
You can't say, no, if you're the only company in the world that makes hard drives, really, you can't say, no, you're not allowed to sell in the United States. There'll be no hard drives here. You can't.
Yeah, you
that.
can, because the United States would, one, say you can't sell here, and then they'd make incentives for some domestic company to make inflated price hard drives for us.
Great. Inflated price hard drives.
What do you expect?
We can start the black market underground hard drive importing business. Illegal Seagates here. Hey man, want some Seagates? See Shields.
See, the thing is, it really couldn't happen anyway. I can't see any situation where Seagate would also buy Western Digital.
Me either, because Western Digital doesn't have a useful secret IP that you'd want. They just have crap.
So you know this whole NSA thing, with the NSA spying on American citizens and whatnot. Well, the news that's come out, this is actually from yesterday, is that apparently they had a program, I think it was called Thin Thread, quite some time ago, where they had decided that they wanted to analyze the same kind of data that the NSA claims to be analyzing now. Now, apparently they'd come up with a way of doing this quite some time ago where they wouldn't actually be able to extract from the data the individual people or who actually called who. They could only get the aggregate data and look for trends. It was completely legal. It doesn't run afoul of any of the laws that the current spying program may or may not be running afoul of. And there's really no reason they couldn't have done their current program that way, as opposed to the horribly privacy-infringing way they're doing it now.
Wait, so so it would find people with calling patterns similar to the calling patterns of terrorists?
What? No, it would look for patterns in calling, in aggregate, so you could try to figure out the source and destination. Like you could try to find patterns and trends in calls, kind of like the way we search for chatter to determine when, terrorist activity is going to happen, because chatter increases or certain patterns of communication appear in the airwaves.
So certain patterns of calling mean...
Yeah.
Okay.
If you look at data like that in aggregate, you can get a lot of information.
Yeah, you can, but how are you supposed to find the bad guy like that?
You can't find the bad guy that way. You can find out what the bad guy's going to do. You're not going to find the bad guy the way they're doing it now anyway.
I know. But
and the other thing is that the stated purpose of what they're doing now is just to find patterns. That's how they're getting away with it. But they could have done the same thing they say they're doing now without infringing the way they are.
So obviously the answer is they're not doing what they say they're doing.
Oh, no, I'm pretty certain they're just recording everyone's conversations and looking for keywords.
Yeah, obviously.
What really saddens me is that Americans really don't seem to care so much at all.
Because it doesn't affect their lives in a visible way, so they don't care. They'll only care if something, is affecting people that they can see. If you can't see it, it's not happening.
Yeah, and you know what? That's just kind of sad and scary.
Yep. People are, stupid. You can do anything you want to them. You can sell them bullshit fake medicine, and you can spy on them, and what do they care? Doesn't affect their useless lives where they don't think about those sorts of things, and they don't care about those sorts of things. They don't notice. And then when something bad finally happens, then they'll complain, but there's not a goddamn thing they can do about it then. That's the fate of the stupid person. You're going to get screwed your whole life.
Well, the problem with that is that it affects me just as much, and there's really no way I can get away from stupid people.
You shouldn't have been on the same team with the stupids.
There's no other team.
Wow.
So in the spirit of worst week, I have a worst thing of the day.
How bad is it?
Well, let me just say that I really like amusement parks and roller coaster parks.
Oh, it is a worst. That's right. Awesome.
So I grew up in Michigan near Cedar Point, which is the roller coaster capital of the world. It's the biggest roller coaster park that has ever been. They have more roller coasters than anyone. I love roller coasters. Apparently this guy went to Egypt. And in Egypt, he saw this amusement park. He decided he wanted to go in.
Was it next to the pyramids? Was it Pyramid Park?
No.
Was it Sphinx City?
It wasn't even Egyptian themed. If anything, it was Derelict Shack themed.
What?
It was look at these pictures. It looks like zombies killed everyone in an amusement park. This is a set for a movie. It is not an amusement park. However, it's actually an amusement park. There's no joke, and these pictures are from this amusement park. The guy paid £30 to get in.
Egyptian pounds.
And he just look at these pictures. I can't say more. None of the rides work. This place is scary looking.
I have a hypothesis, actually.
That this amusement park is nothing more than a scam?
No, that the amusement park was just a rundown amusement park that wasn't actually open, and some guy realized that if he stood in the ticket booth all day, he could just take money from people. And not give the...
That's not a bad idea.
I mean, if there was a rundown amusement park nearby, I would just go stand in the ticket booth and sell tickets and just collect money.
Why do they attack the amusement park?
For fun.
Yeah, check out these pictures. This is It looks like urban exploration, but nah, it's an amusement park, and some of the rides were working.
Wow.
Some of
Who is
them.
running the rides?
I don't know.
What are they paying those employees with? Who goes to this park?
It's like Cartman Land.
Wow. All right. So, I found this video. Surprisingly, it wasn't on YouTube or Google Video or anything. It was on MySpace.
What are you doing on MySpace?
I wasn't. Someone linked there.
And you followed it?
Yeah.
What the hell?
Well, it was worth it because this video is... Well, in the video, let's start, are some old-timey videos. I think someone said the video might be from Hugh Hefner's Playboy Penthouse from the early 60s.
Uh-huh.
Of course, who knows what it could be from. But regardless, it's an old black and white TV show of some sort, or movie or something, of two really cool jazz dancing guys named, I think, Al and Leon. And they do this awesome swing jazz dance of old-timiness.
These guys can dance, though I wouldn't really consider that old-timey.
Well, it's not super 1920s old-timey, but it's old-timey considering the present year is 2007.
I wouldn't consider something that happened within the last 100 years old-timey.
I would. Definitely.
Punk kid.
You're the punk kid.
I'm older than you.
The 1920s are old-timey, all right?
No, they're
and those
not.
are less than 100 years ago.
I don't consider them old-timey at all.
1920s is old-timey as it gets. Because you know what? Medieval stuff is not old-timey. It's ancient.
No, that's not ancient.
Yes, it is.
Nah, ancient is pyramids.
No, pyramids are mega ancient.
That's not
or
a word.
double ancient.
No.
Double plus ancient.
I double dog ancient you.
Yeah, okay, anyway. So you have this video of two cool guys dancing in an old style, right? And the dance is really cool. Now, the one thing that's notably absent is the old style music. Where's it at? I don't know. What someone did is they took some new school hip hop rhymes, which are actually it's a pretty good song. I should find what song it is and get the guys' stuff, because it's, I don't like a lot of hip hop musics, but this is pretty good stuff. And he puts it right on top of this video of old school dancing, and it works really well.
It looks like he synced the timing up somehow.
Yeah, it's like as the guys dance. I think what the thing is, it must be that either the beats per minute of the old song or match that of the new hip hop song, or they, sped up or slowed down the video slightly to get it to match the beats per minute of the hip hop song. Or he made the song especially for this video that he found, which would be extra cool.
Yeah. All we got to do is get some sort of leak action in there and we'll be golden.
Yeah, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some new school dancing videos and put some old-timey music to them. See what happens. That should be very entertaining, too.
You're not going to do that.
If the opportunity presents itself and it's trivially...
You're not going to do that.
If the effort is low, I'll do it.
You realize it wasn't until just now that I finally decided to do my Wonder Woman Superman remix. In fact, for some reason, I didn't think about it all day. And then as we sat down to the podcast, I'm like, oh, yeah. And I suddenly started doing it.
Oh, yeah. So everyone knows, what was it, last week, I think?
Yeah, we were talking about Free Comic Book Day.
We were talking about Free Comic Book Day, and in the Justice League Unlimited free comic book, there was one page in the comic where if you remove the text and just looked at the pictures, there were some sexual innuendo implications.
The best part, just when Superman's standing there behind Hawkgirl, and then he gets this stupid grin on his face as he grabs her shoulder.
Yeah. So we took that, and someone scanned it in and sent it to us, and then I erased the text from the bubbles, and I put it on the forum. So if you go to frontrowcrew.com and go to the discussion forum, you can get this picture, and there's a contest to put funny text in the bubbles or modify the picture to be funny. There's no real prize except for everyone else will say how awesome you are.
Yes, fame and fortune.
Yep.
Without the fortune.
Without the fortune, just the fame. In a little tiny forum. But yeah, you should go and make parodies of this picture that are funny to amuse us.
Yes, especially since after we're done, I'm going to submit the picture to FARC, and there's a decent chance it'll get into the Photoshop, because they love that sort of crap.
Yeah, it's a good one.
So if you guys get to it first, then you'll be all set to win the FARC one.
Ooh.
You know what you win when you win the FARC one?
Fame without fortune?
Not even that. No one ever actually looks at the thread to see who won, as far as I can tell.
Really?
I don't even vote. I just look at him.
Yeah, that's right. They have that little voting thing, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
Oh.
Sometimes it's just randomly enabled on threads that really don't need it, which leads to hilarity.
A bunch of people vote for a guy that says, fuck you.
There's always someone who posts something like a picture of Nelson, then the lyrics to Iron Man.
All right.
Yeah. Anyway, you might have noticed we were a little quick on the news. That's because today's Thursday, and it's the end of Worst Week. And to wrap it up, we want to talk about the worst people ever.
And not worst people that you know about. So we're not going to be talking about your Hitlers and your Stalins.
Your Jesuses.
Yeah, we're not talking about those guys that everyone knows, your Pol Pots.
Yeah.
And we're not talking about those guys because everyone knows those guys. And girls, I guess there's some evil bitches in history too.
I'm the Juggernaut.
I'm the Juggernaut, bitch.
I don't know why. I got to stop thinking about that stupid thing.
Wasn't that yesterday's thing?
Yeah, it was.
All right.
We got to show it to everyone this weekend.
We do. Because I'm the Juggernaut, bitch. Okay.
Fuck you with my pig cane.
So we're going to talk about the worst people in history that you probably either A, think were good people but were actually bad, or B, never heard of in your entire life, or C, you're so smart and know so much about history, you've heard this all before and you'll think we're stupid.
Yeah. If anyone is C, that's great. Tell us who we should have listed.
Yeah, I'd love, because basically what we did is we took people that we know that other people didn't know, and then we did some Google searching and added a few more people we just discovered, and that's that. And I'm sure there are plenty more evil, crazy, batshit bad guys that we can talk about.
Yep. And once again, we decided to hold off on our worst people in the world ever that we personally know.
You mean, well, I think that should be for hated week instead of worst week.
Nah, there's some people we have met, mostly at cons briefly, who I think objectively are bad people.
Yeah, they are bad people, but we could say worst people we know, personally. That would fit.
Worst people we have been in physical proximity with for any amount of time.
Well, because there are people that we might have been near some really terrible people and not known it, because we didn't interact with them in any way.
True.
Or we might not know their names or anything about them.
Yeah, but we could usually smell them.
We can. All right, so who do you want to talk about first?
All right, I can think of so many.
Yep.
Let's start with an easy one. Because Scott actually, everyone remembers William Randolph Hearst and Pulitzer.
Newspaper guys.
Famous newspaper guys. Now, the Pulitzer Prize is named after Pulitzer, yet Pulitzer was kind of a bastard. He really wasn't the greatest guy. Him and Hearst, I don't know how many of you know much about U.S. history around, Spanish-American War type times, yellow journalism and whatnot. But these guys basically sensationalized war and things going on in the world to try to cause bad things to happen in order to sell more newspapers.
Yeah. They do that today also. Yeah,
but this is really kind of the start of journalism that affects the world in addition to reporting on it. And it's kind of started this vicious cycle of if you make bad news, more bad news happens, which you can then report on, which makes more bad news. And money keeps coming out of that cycle.
Yep, because people like to read about bad news for some reason because they're fuckers.
It's like the citric acid cycle, only money comes out of it instead.
Oh.
Yeah, we'll do little quick blurbs. We're not going to go into detail on all these people, for the most part.
All right, so for the next guy I want to talk about is a guy that everyone knows and probably thinks good things about, but I'm going to make you think real bad things about him. But first I want to talk about what habeas corpus is in case you didn't pay attention.
I was waiting for this one.
In case you didn't pay attention in social studies class. Habeas corpus is an essential right in any free society. What it means is that when you get arrested... Right, so let's say the cops come up and they arrest Rim and they say, "We're taking you to jail, you're under arrest."
But I'm the Juggernaut, bitch.
Habeas corpus means that they have to tell Rim why he's being arrested. They have to say, "You're being arrested for stealing or killing or whatever." And the reason habeas corpus is so important is because let's say we arrest Rim and we don't tell him what he did. Even if we have a court, we take him to the court, right, or whatever, and we say, "All right, you're on trial. What do you have to say for yourself?" "I didn't steal that thing." "Well, you're not on trial for stealing." And you're in jail, and then you're fucked. That is why habeas corpus is important. Without habeas corpus, you can just go around putting anyone you want into jail, and no one can do a goddamn thing about it.
Now, alternatively
It's
to that,
just as important as freedom of speech and everything else. Even more important, because even without freedom of speech, you won't be in jail.
now I would also like to posit that in it, because it all relates to this guy, I would say that the lives of hundreds of thousands of people are worth a little bit more than the arbitrary boundaries of one or possibly two countries.
Mm-hmm.
And thus, we actually name the person.
Abraham Lincoln, the 16th president of the United States.
Probably one of my most disliked presidents.
Yep. Okay, so here's what happened. There was a civil war going on. In case you didn't know, there was a civil war going on.
Which had very little actually to do with slavery.
That is correct. And there were these guys called the, quote, Peace Democrats. And what the Peace Democrats wanted to do was they wanted to resolve the Civil War peacefully. Their plan was to make a truce with the South and have a new constitutional convention, and they would change the Constitution to have some states' rights. I'm all with the Peace Democrats. Woohoo. Of course, the Constitution already protects states' rights.
Yeah, the problem back then was the Constitution did not protect you from slavery.
That's right.
But that's a whole other issue.
Yes, but the Peace Democrats were just peaceful, nonviolent guys who opposed Lincoln. Now, what did Abraham Lincoln do? Well, in 1861, he suspended habeas corpus in places that were resisting. Oh, no, first. All right. In 1861, he suspended it in certain places where that were strategic for the war. So let's say there was a city, and if the city decided to resist the North, that the North would be in big trouble war-wise, he suspended habeas corpus there and arrested anyone who resisted. In 1862, when they started, yelling at him about suspending habeas corpus in a few places, he just suspended it everywhere. And he started arresting these Peace Democrats all over the place. No habeas corpus, no nothing. So imagine if Bush today, right, decided to go around arresting all the anti-Bush people around the country, not accusing them of any crime. Just have police round them up and throw them into jails. Anyone who opposes him, he just throws them into jails.
Yeah, not even this is people who are opposing by saying
60 what is it, 38% approval rate? So it's like if Bush just took 62% of the population and just started locking them up in jail and didn't tell any of them what they had done wrong, didn't accuse them of any crime, no habeas corpus, no nothing.
Now, the South was doing kind of a stupid thing in breaking away from the North, but I don't think it justified, marching down there and killing a bunch of people.
Yep. And, if you think, he just arrested a few really people who are opposing him a little bit. No, 13,000 people were arrested. 13,000.
And another argument people seem to make a lot is...
That's probably more people than they have in the Guantanamo.
But if he hadn't done that and won the Civil War, then there wouldn't have been an America to stop Germany. And you know what? We didn't know that back then. Hindsight, whatever. You can't make that argument. That's just wrong because you can't know the future.
No, you can't. So yeah, you should never suspend habeas corpus. And if you do, Scott will think you're a fucker, and so will Rim.
All right, so we've already named Abraham Lincoln as one of the worst people ever. I think I can top that one in terms of people going, oh, why would they say this?
Not if they've watched bullshit, they won't.
Yeah, bullshit really taught me about this, but then I read a bunch more, and I'm going to go with Mother Theresa as one of the worst people ever.
How bad was she?
Mother Theresa caused the deaths of lots of people, and there's a lot of evidence that she was kind of a scam artist.
Did she beat Abraham Lincoln's 13,000 people arrested? Oh, by the way, habeas corpus was reinstated. We're okay now. In 1866, the Supreme Court brought it back, and now it's illegal to have a military trial in an area in which a civil trial is possible to happen.
Now, that is why we have those secret prison camps in Eastern Europe right now.
Because it's not possible to have a civil trial over there, so it's perfectly legal to have a military trial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're none too happy with the current administration either.
Yes, but don't worry. This means that as long as you don't leave where you are, safe in the United States or wherever, hopefully you're safe outside the United States. You're not a citizen, but if you're a U.S. citizen, you're safe as long as you don't leave your home or anything, because there's a civil court near you.
So anyway, a bunch of brief facts
Right, Mother Teresa.
about Mother Teresa. I don't want to go into depth about this because this shouldn't be a show of here are all the details as to why this person's bad. This is a show of us yelling about the people who we think are bad.
Yep.
Her organization took lots of money, and the people who donated the money were under the impression that this money was going to go toward helping the sick and the poor and building hospitals and feeding people.
That's what I would think if I was giving money to Mother Teresa.
Money didn't go to that. The money all went to the Vatican and into missionary work.
Mm-hmm.
Missionary work, which has nothing to do with helping people and everything to do with converting them.
None of the money went into helping people at all?
Almost none, because Mother Teresa very much believed that the poor should accept their lot and that is a wonderful thing for them to do and that's how they'll get closer to Jesus. And they should never try to better themselves, and the best way to get close to God is through suffering.
Great.
So your hospitals were very poorly maintained. They weren't that large, and they didn't actually treat people. They in many cases would not help people who were dying with pain because the suffering was good for them.
Mm-hmm.
Did
they at least convince the people that were suffering that the suffering was good before they had them suffer?
They convinced them constantly while they were suffering.
Great.
They would also not discriminate between people who had a minor illness and people who had a terminal illness, and they put everyone in hospice-style care, meaning if you came in and you were dying of cancer, they kept you there until you died. If you came in and you just had a cut on your leg, they kept you there until it turned into gangrene and you died. They didn't have any real doctors, and they didn't perform any actual services other than washing your wounds periodically.
So where were these hospitals? Mostly Africa and
India.
India? Yeah. Great.
The hospitals were much smaller than people in the West were led to believe, and Mother Teresa was kind of crazy.
See, but you always remember her as like this old woman. It's like, how did she do any stuff as an old lady? She didn't do it, or was it? She did it when she was young, and then when she was old, she just became old.
She had a lot of people call it a cult, but she had a group of people who did all this together.
All right, so was it her idea? That's the thing.
Yeah, she was the kind of figurehead and public face of all this.
Mm-hmm.
But she wasn't the greatest person, and I really don't think she should be remembered for very much.
I don't think so either. Bad lady. Bad old crazy lady.
Of course, we haven't really talked about people who openly, directly killed a bunch of people. We'll get to that right now.
Oh, but that's the most fun. I want dibs.
No, because we got the one for the end that we really got to save.
Oh, you want to save him to the end? All right.
You want to do the Triple H, or you want me to start with Otto?
I thought Triple H is the guy we're going to save to the end.
Oh, I was going to save the guy we have a song for.
Oh, okay. Fine, I'll do the Triple H.
All right, then I'll start with Otto, because Otto killed people less directly.
Okay.
So Otto of Lagery, he is indirectly responsible for countless deaths in the Middle East and Europe. He started wars. He started a huge war that spawned at least 9 other wars as a result, and carnage and chaos and spreading of the Christian church. He was actually known as Pope Urban II, and he was the pope who called for the First Crusade.
So he invented the idea of the crusade.
Yeah, a nation out near the Holy Land was asking for help to repel the Turks. He rallied a whole bunch of Christians.
Knights.
Yeah, and he told them, anyone who fights in this war is absolved of all sin no matter what.
So all the dirty Knights who had done all sorts of nasty bits went down there.
And all the peasants who had nothing better to do.
Oh, that's what I would do if I was a peasant. Better than peasanting.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
And he sent them off
to hang out with the Knights.
And, I mean, the Crusades, I'm not going to talk about the Crusades much, other than that it usually involved a bunch of Christian knights going out to the Holy Land and sacking towns and killing people. At one point, they sacked Jerusalem and killed almost everyone in it.
Yep, that's what they did. And Jerusalem's like the most defensible place on earth, so that's not easy to do.
I mean, it's kind of staggering. People think that the Dark Ages were like this dark time where like all civilization ground to a halt. No, there were large, fortified, well-defended cities, and there were large armies who made their way from Europe, like Western Europe, all the way to the Holy Land and still had enough force to lay month-long sieges to large cities.
You need to lay a month-long siege to those cities because there's really no other way to get through.
I mean, if you're ever bored, just go to like Wikipedia and read all the articles about the Crusades. They're not the simple things that most people have learned about, and there were a lot of them.
And it's really cool because even if, you read all of these terrible stories and they make you sad, there's all sorts of cool Kniggets to look at. And paintings of Kniggets. And yeah. Even though the Kniggets are the bad guys, which kind of sucks.
Yeah, though, to their credit, that some of the points, they were actually trying to repulse the Moorish invaders who were striking back.
Yeah.
And, of course, this all spiraled into the Middle East we know and love today.
Hey, talking about Moorish invaders, it's not really related, but I guess there's some connection in my brain. Attila the Hun wasn't the greatest guy.
No, he really wasn't.
No. So yeah, just that's all we got to say about him. Barbarian, army, killing, raping, pillaging.
Yeah, but there are worse guys than him by far.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like Triple H.
Triple H. So we just learned about this guy, Dr. H. Holmes, Holmes.
He got his doctorate from the University of Michigan.
Awesome.
What the hell?
Okay, so I think his real name, it said, according to Wikipedia at least, was Herman Webster Mudgett.
Yeah, I saw a slightly different name given on Snopes, but it's verifiable that this guy existed.
Yes. Now, what did H. Holmes do that made him so bad that he was equally bad to the likes of Mother Theresa and Abraham Lincoln?
This is going to sound like we're making it up.
I thought they were making it up.
He built a torture castle.
No. Okay.
All right.
So the World's Fair was in Chicago in 1893. You know what the World's Fair is, right?
I assume everyone does. It's something that doesn't really happen anymore because no one cares.
Yeah, but the World's Fair was awesome, and the last awesome World's Fair was in Queens, New York. But anyway, in 1893, the World's Fair was in Chicago. So he built a hotel in Chicago so that he could make a lot of money because, hell, the World's Fair is coming to town. A lot of people are going to stay in a hotel. They'll stay in your hotel, and you'll make a shit ton of money. And World's Fairs, they're not like the summer fair that lasts a few months. The World's Fair lasts for years. So this is going to be quite a profitable business. Now, he built this hotel. And, he filled the hotel with gas chambers and torture traps and all sorts of evil, nasty bits.
He called it his castle, and he hired all these different contractors. So, it's not like one guy built the whole thing and could call the police and say, hey, this guy built gas chambers. Like, one guy would lay the gas pipes, and then another guy would extend the gas pipes, and then another guy would make these rooms soundproof that, this is a sound studio or whatnot. And no one person could really figure out what was going on in there.
Yep, the bottom story had shops, the top story had his office, and all the middle places had a maze of windowless rooms that were the hotel rooms.
And the soundproof gas/torture rooms where he would lock the girls up that he was torturing, and he would just, on a whim, send the gas in and kill them.
Yep. And he, of course, did all sorts of evil things. He had a chute that he would put bodies in, and the bodies would go right to the basement.
And then in the basement, he had lime pits and various chemical means of disposing of bodies, in addition to fire pits and crematoriums and all sorts of fun stuff.
Yep. And he was pretty nasty, this guy.
They got him for, I think, 23 murders in the end, but it's estimated that he killed up to 200 people over the course of his murdering.
Yep, and even when the World's Fair ended, he went around the country murdering and killing and all sorts of nastiness.
They eventually caught him because his castle burned down, and the firefighters found there were all these human remains in it.
Good job.
And then there was investigation, and whoa.
But don't worry, Triple H got his in the end. He was hanged. But here's the thing.
This is great.
Here's a funny story about when H. Holmes was hanged. He went up to get hanged, and he says to the hangman, "Don't bungle," which says, "Don't screw up my hanging. I want to just die right away." So the hangman, of course, hanged him. But he screwed up the hanging. He didn't snap Holmes' neck on the first go. So Holmes hung there for 15 minutes, strangling and dying slowly and painfully, which I guess is the worst way that they were going to make him go. So H. Holmes, bad dude. Bad dude. Real bad.
Yeah.
So here's another guy He's from the 1400s.
Ooh, back in the day.
And he was French.
Okay. Are you quite finished?
Yeah. And his name was Gilles, Gilles space DE space RAIS. Gilles de Rais. What did he do? Well, he was some military guy, an aristocrat. He had a lot of money, whatever. To sum it up, he teamed up with these two other people, and he raped and killed little boys. A lot of them.
How many?
God. Too many. Basically, the scary part isn't how many he did it to. It's that what him and his friends would do is they would, torture little boys, rape them, whatever, mutilate them, scary things.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, and then they would put, the heads, on stakes of whatever boys they had that night, and then, decide amongst themselves who was the most beautiful.
Wow, that's like something out of a terrible manga.
Yeah, these guys are just extreme sadists of nuttiness with the little boys and little girls. Although this guy preferred little boys.
Huh.
And basically what happened is the church wanted to get his land or something, and during that they discovered what he was doing and they caught him. And he was hanged, I think.
Good deal.
Hanged. It seems like they hang all these bad dudes. So yeah, this guy is king of the little boy rapers. You think the Catholic priests are bad. Gilles de Rais.
Though speaking of Catholics, there's always our friends, the Borgias family. Poison. Even though because actually the poisoning Borgias family, they probably did poison a lot of people. There's a lot of evidence that they did. But there's also a lot of evidence that much of the writings and stories about this family were largely just propaganda by their enemies. Because remember, the winners write history, and it's very hard to tell historically whether writings about someone are accurate or if they were just the writings of other people's opinions of them.
Yeah, it says actually some people say that Gilles de Rais might have actually been just a normal dude, and the Catholic Church wanting to, get him for whatever reason made up all this stuff. But that's probably unlikely in this particular case, but it could be. We don't know. No one was alive in 1400. No one knows Gilles de Rais.
Yeah.
None of those Catholic priests or whatever is still around.
Well, this applies to our last one, too, which we're not going to say till the end.
Well, no. The last one.
Yeah, the last guy we're going to talk about. Because there's a lot of evidence that, the last guy was a bad dude, and he wasn't all together there in the head.
Well, let's hold on, because he's the last dude. You don't wanna...
but I just want to say that there's evidence that he wasn't nearly as bad as people have written about him.
Yep, but that's fine.
Let's move a little away from the death and
You know what I just thought about was a bad guy?
Who?
Rasputin.
Rasputin.
Yeah, he was a bad guy.
The Russian queen. Yeah, I pretty much rank him with all those randy pseudoscience, mess with people, culty crazies.
Yep, he's just like all of them. L. Ron Hubbard, bad guy.
Yeah, I was about to say L. Ron Hubbard. I don't think we need to say why L. Ron Hubbard's on the list.
Nope.
Xenu, real bad guy. What the hell? He nuked billions and billions of people. That's not cool.
No, it's not.
But
L. Ron Hubbard didn't nuke people. The made-up nuked people. You get the idea.
Those indigo children will come get us now.
Oh, they will.
But let's back away from death and move toward corruption a bit. Because I'd like to name two of the most corrupt individuals in American history.
Mm-hmm.
We've got Boss Tweed of Tammany Hall. Very briefly, he was the head of probably the largest, most corrupt political machine to ever grace the world.
More corrupt than what we have now?
Imagine going around a city, grabbing hobos and paying them with liquor to vote, and then going from district to district having them all vote for you.
We should do that now.
It's tougher now. Not that much tougher. I could have said any name when I went to vote before.
Yeah.
They don't check. They're just the only people running the voting booths are old people who have nothing better to do.
Mm-hmm.
Or punk kids whose parents made them do it or their school made them do it.
Mm-hmm.
But along with Boss Tweed, I'd like to talk about my favorite president of the United States, Taft.
That fat fuck.
Oh my God, that guy is fat.
Fat bastard.
He was fat and corrupt. There's a speech of his that I was going to play in this podcast, but I don't want to bother with cleaning it up.
Tyrone, you fat Okay.
Read about Taft. He's just the most useless, corrupt president ever.
Teapot Dome scandal. You think Watergate's bad? Go check out the Teapot Dome real estate scam.
Not to mention just the rampant corruption and bribery that was going on in Congress and in his administration.
This guy basically just became president and then just did a bunch of corrupt, evil things to get lots and lots of money and evil and whatnot. That's all he did. Nothing useful.
He was also incredibly fat.
He looks like he's a corrupt guy when you...
He looks like a big ball with a little head on top of it.
With a mustache and a funny hat.
Yeah.
And it's old-timey. Although not, it's more old-timey than the dancing video.
I mean, I can't think of many people politically who have been more corrupt than Taft and Boss Tweed.
Yeah, I mean, not even people we have today. They're not going around liquoring up. Maybe Diebold with just fixing the election machines.
Yeah, it's hard to say. It's actually easier to talk about older people than newer people because it's hard to see now what the ramifications of people's actions are going to be.
Yeah, back in the day, also, stuff was obvious. Like, hey, look, there's a guy liquoring up hobos and telling them to vote. Yeah. Nowadays, it's, they made some machines. Grumble, grumble.
At least back in the day, people were just corrupt. Like, I'm a corrupt dude, I'm doing corrupt things. Now it's hard to tell if people are actually corrupt or just stupid.
Yeah. Maybe back in the day, they couldn't tell if people were corrupt or stupid either, and that's why it took so long, and now we realize they were corrupt.
I think history will vindicate us.
Maybe. I could love to see the history books. The history books now say all the people in the past were evil. The history books 200 years from now, all the people in the past are stupid. Stupid, stupid, stupid.
Well, Futurama, they always refer to this era as the stupid ages.
That's right.
Yeah.
These are the stupid ages.
I really do wonder what the history books are going to say 50 years from now about, you know, Bush and the war and the terror, whatnot, and the secret prison camps in Eastern Europe.
Depends who writes the books.
Go back to 1996 and tell someone the U.S. in the year 2005 is going to start building secret prison camps in Eastern Europe. See what they say.
Well,
Nowadays,
we had those Japanese prison camps in World War II.
Yeah, and you know what we say
those
about those.
Those aren't really in the history book so much.
We don't say so much about them.
No, we don't. So they're not going to say so much about these ones either.
Yeah, but the fact is
maybe
that
even less.
People, they're in the news. Like, everyone knows, but yet no one cares.
Because they're not in the prisons.
Yeah. And then there was no one left to come to speak
exactly,
yeah.
But no one cares. You know, no matter how much you know it's going to happen. I mean, like the people waiting for the Holocaust in Germany, they knew it was going on. They knew all these things that we know now, but it doesn't matter. It's not much you can do.
You know what? Why don't I just move to Finland? At least I'll get good music.
Finland, Finland, Finland.
Divvy-divvy-dop, divvy-dop-ba-ba-dop.
Okay. So, who else is bad?
Scott Johnson. That guy.
Is he a bad enough dude to rescue the president?
I don't remember the guy's name, but anyone who's seen Hotel Rwanda, you know they have the radio voice guy who is like, cut the tall trees, cut the tall trees.
Yep.
That wasn't one dude, and that was kind of dramatized, but there was the radio station that was playing that sort of propaganda and inciting people to go out and genocide.
Mm-hmm.
And I forget the guy's name, but it was this Belgian guy who ran that radio station, and he was behind a large part of the genocide propaganda in Rwanda.
And he went to International War Crimes Court, and now he's in jail.
In fact, he's still in jail.
And he's going to stay there.
He'll get out in a while.
And then someone will immediately come and beat the shit out of him.
We were thinking, because he's going to get out in a few years, actually, because he's been there a while.
Because I don't think he actually killed anyone. That's why he's not there forever.
Yeah, not like that general guy.
He just told people to kill people.
Yeah, he's a really scary-looking guy.
Definitely. He looks like a terrorist when you look at him.
I mean, he was born a long time ago. He's pretty old now. And he was part of the dying days of the Belgian adventures into Africa. Now, people think, you know, the Spanish were terrible when they conquered the native people.
Oh, yeah, we didn't talk about any Columbus or conquistadors. Those are bad dudes.
Yeah, but I'll say
Raping
this.
Native Americans and Mayas and Aztecs.
If you want to rank the nations of Europe and how they treated the natives they dealt with, the Nordic peoples and the French were probably the best. They were no saints, but they probably treated the people they were subjugating or invading or whatnot better than anyone. Then the English were pretty bad. The Spanish were real bad. I mean, conquistadors.
Yep.
The Portuguese were significantly more vicious than the Spanish were, all things considered. But nobody topped the Belgians. You wouldn't think, but the Belgians were the brutal ones who marched around Africa just murdering.
Wow.
Yeah.
So they kept it up all the way up to Rwanda.
But at least this one guy did.
Yeah.
So
Carrying on the legacy.
We were
of evil.
thinking we should go to whatever whatever place he's actually being held in.
Some Eastern European secret prison that we can't get to.
Yeah, wait for him to be released and just walk up and give him a swift punch to the cock and then walk away.
I don't think his cock, maybe, I don't know. It's probably hardened in many a prison ass.
Okay.
I just imagine.
I don't know what it's like in war crimes trial or war crimes prison.
Yeah, I mean, it's like we've got local county jail, which is like drunk guy locked up laughing.
Or Rim was trespassing in a factory again.
Yeah, then we've got state prison, which is pound me in the ass state prison. Great. Then we've got federal pound me in the ass prison, which is goddamn.
Yep. And
But there's also the nice happy prisons for guys who evade taxes or do some corrupt scam.
it seems like the worse you are, the nicer prison they put you in after a point. Like if you kill 10 people, you go to a bad prison.
Very
If
bad.
you kill 100 people, you go to a bad prison and someone shivs you in there. If you kill 1 million people, they put you under house arrest and bring you food for the rest of your life.
Yeah, I don't know what's up with that.
Like Eddie Izzard's thing, Pol Pot killed all those people. He's in his house now. Just fucking don't go in that house.
Yeah. But I mean, where are the international prisons when they lock up? Like, let's say they find Saddam guilty and give him life in prison. Where do they put him?
You know what? I'll bet a quick Google would answer that question.
Yeah, there must be some crazy international war crimes prison.
Let's do a show on international law.
All right.
'Cause
I don't
I-
know a lot about
It's
it.
something I don't know a
I
lot
know that
about
the
either.
international court doesn't have a lot of power over other people.
Yeah, partly because the United States is all for the international court whenever it's ruling against someone else. But the moment it turns its eye toward the U.S., we always say something to the lines of, you can't do anything to us, you have no authority, leave us alone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Same thing with the UN in general. The U.S. does the same thing.
Yeah, the UN...
Whatever.
I could do a whole show on the UN,
Mm-hmm. Okay, so who is a bad guy we can talk about?
other than our last guy.
Blackbeard was pretty bad.
Yeah, he was, but how much of that is story versus how much of that is fact?
I don't know, but it's all pirate, so it's all cool by me.
Yeah.
Were there any evil shoguns we could talk about?
I don't know much about them, really.
Yeah, or evil Chinese emperors, or kings of Siam, or Mongolians. Genghis Khan was bad.
Yeah, he was.
Bad guy.
There's a whole line of Russian patriarchs who were variously evil and corrupt.
Oh, I know who's bad. Pancho Villa.
Pancho Villa.
Pancho Villa was bad.
And you know what? While we're at it, Che Guevara.
Yeah, kind of bad. Not as bad as Pancho Villa.
Yeah, but Che Guevara is one of those people where a lot of punk kids and college kids and people out there who are all, like college socialists, they always they have the poster of Che and they always talk like, ooh, he understood, or they look at him as this hero. And he was just a warlord fighter like anyone else in that era. He wasn't anything special.
Yeah,
And he was a fairly brutal murdering person.
his face and that, the piece of artwork that depicts his face is just like iconic.
Yeah. Actually, I do want to see Motorcycle Diaries, which is a semi-documentary about him, but is mostly just fluff.
Yeah,
But it looks good.
I'll see it one day.
Yeah.
So Pancho Villa.
Pancho Villa, a lot of people think he's this funny guy, and he was really just a murdering, thuggish kind of bandit. The U.S. sent troops to try and get him in Mexico.
They failed.
He eventually... Now, this is a funny story, and I'm led to believe that this is true, but it's really hard to verify 100%, but it's said by his second in command, the guy who held him in his arms as Pancho Villa died, that Pancho Villa's last words were, "Don't let it end like this. Tell them I said something." Now, if that's true, what kind of asshole was his second in command to tell that story to anyone?
You know, when your boss is Pancho Villa, someone who is so bad that a long time later, two idiots doing a podcast put you on their list of bad guys, then your second in command isn't going to be the greatest guy.
I just like our list. It's like serial killer, evil guy, Abraham Lincoln, Mother Theresa, serial killer, evil guy.
Yeah, because they were all bad.
Yeah, there's a lot of serial killers we left off.
Oh, Charles Manson.
Yeah, the Boston Strangler.
Yep. I mean, Bin Laden's a bad guy.
Jack the Ripper.
The problem with Jack the Ripper is we don't know about Jack the Ripper because of the mystery.
Not only does no one really know who he was, DNA evidence just now show, like I saw this while we were doing the show, leads people to believe that the person who killed many of the people claimed to be killed by Jack the Ripper was actually a woman.
Great.
And Jack the Ripper may or may not have existed.
Yeah,
it might have been
like Jesus.
A lot of people were killed by thugs in that time, and a lot of people were murdered. And you know what? I know who Jack the Ripper was. I got it all sorted out. He was shown in Bet.
Ah.
That explains everything.
Some Puerto Rican guy.
It was just Maromi-chan.
Some Puerto Rican guy. That's who it was.
Yeah, we're getting kind of silly here. We can't think of any more specific people that are worth talking about.
I think we can.
All right, but then we're going to have a lot of us padding time out on the air while we think of it. Because I said I'm not cutting anything out of this episode.
Oh, not even silence?
No, not even silence. We got to keep talking.
Oh.
Yeah.
Rim's a bad guy.
Yeah, I've murdered thousands. Millions.
There are a lot of South American dictators who are pretty bad.
Yeah, I blame most of that on the U.S. because most of those dictators are ones that our CIA put into power to keep the communists out.
Yeah, we'd rather have some evil dictator in South America than a communist one.
Well, I mean, look at what we did in the Middle East, too. We funded Iran and we funded Iraq and we got them to fight each other. And then when both of them said, screw you, America, suddenly we're all, in a tiff. We gave them the weapons.
Yeah.
All right, I can round out the list real easily. Rumsfeld, Ashcroft, Cheney, Bush, Karl Rove. I can write a little song.
All the evil sultans, and the ayatollahs.
Yeah, people who had the title Maharaja.
Not all of them.
No, not all of them, but many of them.
Many, yes.
Of course, many kings, too. Kings were often corrupt.
King Evil, King Bastard.
I'm King Bastard II. I am Bastard, son of bitch.
Ivan the Terrible. Ivan the Terrible was bad.
Ivan the Terrible wasn't so bad. He gets a bad rap.
Yeah, but he was still terrible compared to Peter the Great.
Yeah. No, I want to point out, one, Peter the Great is kind of badass. I've got a biography of him.
He was great.
It's in the downstairs
Just like
bathroom.
Alexander, who was also great.
Alexander was kind of a...
he wasn't as great as Peter, but he was still great.
Do you actually know, or are you just going based on their titles?
Well, I know he did some great stuff.
What'd he do?
He went around conquering the world, naming every damn city after himself, except for one that he named after his horse.
That is indeed true. All right.
And then he made an awesome library, but then he also did all sorts of bad things, conquering and being evil. But that doesn't matter.
Actually, most of the bad that came of what Alexander did was after he was dead.
Yeah.
Because the moment he died, all the people who were in a position to become the next leader looked at each other and said, and then there was a big fight and crazy wars.
And it broke up into a bunch of pieces instead of being one giant piece that Alexander had.
Not that one giant piece of anything is great.
No, it's really bad, actually.
I mean, look at the Peloponnesian Wars, and before there were really nation states, there were city-states, and there were all the Greek city-states, and they were all pretty much independent, and they were all pretty much constantly fighting with each other. I mean, Sparta and Athens were always at war, and everyone was fighting and back and forth, but they stayed to themselves. And then the Persians came and invaded, and suddenly it's like imagine here's my slight explanation of the Greek wars. You walk into a bar, and there's a bunch of guys fighting with each other. And you bring your own bunch of guys, and you walk into the bar, and you walk over to one guy in the corner and start beating him up. Suddenly, everyone in the bar, all the people who were fighting with each other, turn and they all, in a united front, attack you.
Great.
That's Greece. You can tell I'm stalling for time here.
Awesome.
Well, I was hoping you would think of someone else to talk about.
I did, and I just forgot them because you talked too long.
Talk about Darius or all the other kings of Persia. If they would have left Greece alone, the world would have been a lot different today.
There are a lot of evil mafia dudes throughout time.
Yeah? Al Capone, not so bad.
Not really that bad, but a lot of Sicilian guys are motherfuckers. Like the guy they just got recently.
Yeah. To that guy's credit, he was on the lam for a long time.
He was.
They couldn't catch him, and he didn't really go very far.
Yeah.
There's all the Nazis who escaped to South Africa.
Vlad the Impaler was pretty bad.
Yeah, but how much of that is truth?
See, I'm not sure, because apparently some Romanian people say he's kind of a hero, that he killed bad guys, and he put their head, he just killed them in horrible ways and put their heads on stakes. But history and different websites seem to say that he just kept killing people because he was a bad guy. And, they based Dracula on him, so, yeah.
Rumsfeld, Ashcroft, Cheney, Rove.
That's not going to work.
It works pretty well. I said them. They're on my list.
Great.
Pretty much everyone involved in the Project for New American Century is on my list.
Then I'll throw FDR out there as the counterweight.
Yeah, I like FDR a lot.
Yeah, it's like he did a bunch of stuff that was good at the time, but it's fucking us now.
Though it wouldn't really be screwing us so badly now if so many other mistakes hadn't been made after him.
I know.
I mean...
Plus, the stuff that he did that I liked is the stuff that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, like the CCC.
Exactly. And the stuff that he did that I didn't like so much is the stuff that won't go away.
Like Social Security?
Yeah.
Social Security was supposed to be a safety net. It's not supposed to be this, permanent...
Well, originally, it wasn't supposed to be permanent.
Yeah.
Now it is.
Plus, think about it. FDR did so much. I mean,
basically everything we have now, FDR and what he did affects your life if you live in the United States more than Bush. What Bush has done
so far.
Yep.
Well, I'd say if you live in certain parts of France and Germany, what FDR did affected you quite a bit too.
Yes, also very much, but not if you're living there now. Only if you lived there. The point is that me and my life. My life has been more affected by the actions of Franklin Delano Roosevelt that has been affected by Bill Clinton, who is president for 8 years of my life.
I've been affected slightly more by recent presidents, being investigated by the Secret Service and all that bullshit a few years ago.
Yep, but FDR still more so. And he was president for 12 years a long time ago.
Yeah, he was. I would have voted for him.
Yeah, the competition wasn't so high.
Dewey. Dewey defeats Truman.
Yeah.
Actually, it was Hoover. I remember the Hoovervilles.
Great. Yeah.
Well, I don't remember them. I wasn't there.
How do you remember learning about them?
No, I'm actually a Highlander.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I think this episode's done.
I think we've descended into silliness. Thus, without further ado, the final person we're going to talk about.
Oh, right. Hooray.
Yes. If anyone's still listening, I'm partly taking advantage of the fact that we upgraded the Libsyn. So we can make episodes as long as we want, and you guys wanted a long episode, so I'm showing you right now. This is what you get when you get a long episode.
Well, no, because the point was we were going to do a long episode for E3 when we had stuff to say. Making a long episode just by padding it out is completely different.
Yeah, the waiting on the E3 was good, because that way we could cover all the stuff that came out.
Well, because it just so happened that the stuff that we didn't cover, new news came out about it the next day.
Yeah, which was good.
Lucky us.
Yeah.
All right.
It was all part of the cunning plan.
Oh, because we knew in advance. We're just keeping it a secret.
So our final person...
And just so everyone knows, we record these podcasts like a month in advance. And we're just so psychic in our powers.
You better call Randy.
I better.
All right. So without further ado, I'm going to play the song that will introduce our final contestant here on Rim and Scott's Worst Week. Emperor Caligula.
There were a lot of Roman emperors that were pretty bad, like Nero.
Yeah, Constantine.
Yeah. Oh, we should talk about Constantine though.
All right.
Let's talk about him first.
Real briefly, Constantine is pretty much the sole human reason that Christianity exists as it does today and that the Catholic Church ever came into existence.
Without Constantine, we'd all be Jews.
Well, I wouldn't, but...
Wait, I'm a Jew anyway, so it doesn't bother me.
Actually, because you realize back then, Constantine, the Jews were persecuted too.
Yeah, they sure were.
And even without Constantine, we probably just would not have had... The Middle Ages would have been a lot different because the Catholic Church kind of filled a power void. And if it had not come about, I don't know what would have happened.
Me either.
And it's something I've always wondered about, because every time I look at problems in history, I'm not relating them back to Christianity so much, I'm relating them back to Constantine and the fact that he created this void of power wherein this church happened to take over. And I don't think it was so much that the church took over, it was that something took over.
Mm-hmm.
And I could go into great...
If he hadn't left the void of power, who would have been in charge? Constantine?
Well, I don't know. It wouldn't have been a religious institution, I don't think.
No.
Christianity could not have formed as it did, and I don't think there would have been an organization to control the failing pieces of the Roman Empire, and I think possibly the Byzantine Empire or all the small nations that appeared after the fall of Rome. History might have been a lot different.
That's like a choke. You know, you play Chrononauts.
Linchpin.
There's linchpins, and you flip one of those over, and a billion other cards flip. That's one of those.
Yep. I mean, it's weird to think that, all the things that happen in history, and it always comes down to, there's one little event, like dropping the atomic bomb, changed history in crazy, unforeseen ways. Emperor Constantine legalizing Christianity changed history in crazy, unforeseen ways.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Constantine bad.
But Caligula, not so bad in terms of his policies or what he did, other than a few stupid failed wars.
Yeah, he did the same shit that every other Roman emperor did. March the legions around, fight the barbarians.
Yell at the Senate.
Make Rome pretty looking, be very lavish, etc.
Now, if the stories are to be believed, he was probably one of the most depraved sexually individuals ever. He was also possibly a paranoid schizophrenic.
Yeah, kind of like H.H. Holmes.
Yeah, there are lots of stories of his horrible, decadent, murderous sexual appetite.
Like, I heard stories he would, put a robe on, dress up like a homeless bum, sneak out into the street, grab a little boy, etc.
Yep, he supposedly had a cadre of little boys he called his young minnows that he would have swim about and nibble on his flesh while he bathed.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Caligula... Now, there's a lot of evidence that many of the things that were written were hyperbole from his enemies. Because he had a lot of enemies.
You're going to have a lot of enemies when you're the emperor of fucking Rome.
He was assassinated by one of his best friends and his closest, most trusted guard.
Good. It seems that happens to a lot of Roman emperors. Your best friend just kills you because you're being too evil.
Et tu, Scottiskull.
Here, this is what we do, Rim. If any of us is ever too evil at being the emperor of podcasting, the other one of us has to...
The emperor of podcasting. You know what? If Geeknights ever becomes a linchpin in history...
Yeah. I'll be sure to kill you first.
Great.
Because if I kill you and then I become a Roman emperor, there won't be anyone to kill me. So I'll be all set.
See, here's the thing. If we follow the natural conclusion of this out, game theory-wise, we both play games in a very similar way. The whole enlightened self-interest. If we were going to murder each other, we'd probably be walking down the street, simultaneously whip out knives, thrust them toward each other, the points would meet and stop between the two of us.
I'd win.
I would also have a gun. The bullets would hit in the middle.
I'd have a rocket.
Yes, you would have a rocket.
That's right. Not a rocket-propelled grenade to shoot at you. One that would take me up and up and up, and you would get killed by the fire coming out of the bottom. And then I would jump off before I went into space. Caligula, he had one of those.
Yes, he did. He would strap little boys to it.
Oh, God. Oh, God.
All right. We're done, I think. It's actually this weekend we're having almost all of our friends, except Scott Johnson. That's why he's on the list. He's not coming out to the Geekend.
No.
One of the worst people ever now.
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, he even came out last weekend.
So you gotta come out last weekend. You gotta come out this weekend.
Yeah, momentum.
Yeah.
The Juggernaut, bitch. We're having a crazy geekend this weekend. We're probably going to play some Burning Wheel. If we do end up playing Burning Wheel, I'm going to try to set up a microphone and record it. So hopefully I can play back some relevant bits as to how awesome Burning Wheel is.
Maybe.
And then, of course, next weekend, anyone who's in the North Carolina, Raleigh area, I'm going to be speaking at Animazement.
The weekend after that, we may or may not go to Wizard World Philly.
Yes. If any of you live near Philly and are thinking of going, let us know. The more fans are there, the more likely we are to go.
And the weekend after that, I think there's something in the city. Maybe we may or not go.
We've never planned that far ahead, except Otakon, which I bought the hotel room last year.
Yeah, we'll be at Otakon. See you there.
And that was Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for our opening theme.
Be sure to visit our website at www.frontrowcrew.com. If you like our podcasts, you'll love our forums. Make sure you visit them. You can send your email feedback to geeknights@gmail.com. And if you want, you can leave us a voicemail at 206-333-1537.
Geeknights airs every weeknight, Monday through Thursday.
Geeknights is recorded with absolutely no studio and no audience. But unlike those other talk shows, it's actually recorded at night.